Welcome to Gone Fishin'. Today, Bob and TJ head north in search of Arctic grayling.
Hi, welcome to Gone Fishin'. I'm Bob Kirkpatrick.
Hi, I'm TJ Schranke. I just made my first cast out here. We're on the Clearwater River at Crean Lake. We're staying with the O'Briens at the Crean Lake Lodge. Fishing looks like it's going to be fabulous. Look at this. That's what we're up here for.
Well, it looks like the action's going to be real fast here, TJ. I'm going to move over to my spot and get started.
Alrighty, I'm going to let this one go. Okay, we're using barbless hooks here today because we're catching a lot of fish, and it just makes releasing them a whole bunch easier. So I'm going to get this guy back in the water and try and catch another one. There he goes. What a gorgeous fish. Maybe the prettiest fish swimming. Fish on. Well, I saw that one rise there, Bob, and I dropped it in just right in front of him. He come right out of the water with it. Whoa! Another dandy. Basically what we're doing is we're just kind of casting upstream, throwing a couple loops in our leader when we let it land, so it'll give that fly a little more time to drift naturally. Now, as you may have saw in that one, that was just at the tail end of the pool, and it started to skitter along the surface. Now there are some bugs just flying along the surface. We have these flies, a lot of floatant on them, so they're floating really high. So when it does skitter across the top, it almost looks like something flying just above the surface to, you know, a trout or a grayling. So I think that's what he took it for. Usually those kind of strikes are pretty hard, and boy did he hit it. Like I said, we're using pretty light line here. I got 2-pound tippet on here, so you can't hurry these fish in at all. Boy, this water's so clear, Bob, you can just see them sitting down there.
Yeah.
Alrighty. This is great. I've never had grayling action like this. I don't know. Fishing these on dry flies just seems so right. It's a lot of fun too. Something about dry fly fishing, it's really visual sport. It's probably the hardest fish you'll ever try and hang on to. If you don't have to, don't. And this one's got it in pretty deep. It's like a walleye or something. If you cradle them by the belly, they won't get too active on you. And hopefully he'll just sit there and let me pop this little barbless hook out, and we'll get him back. There we go. Isn't that something? Look at the dorsal fin on these. Look at the colors. He wants to get back.
Fly floatant here, just to keep those flies up on top of the water a little better. Ooh, I got lots on there next time.
I'll get you put a little on mine if you got extra.
Okay. This just helps float the flies on top of the surface a little better.
So
I'm sure I have enough for both of us.
just kind of rub it on the hackles and the tail, and you can even run a little up your leader. And what that'll do is just help it float a little better, help it keep up top.
They're sure in here, aren't they, TJ?
You bet.
These, I have lots of rises. I'm having a little trouble hooking them. I haven't done a lot of fly fishing, but it sure is fun once you do get them on.
The thing about these fish, you don't find them a lot of places.
No, this is one of the furthest most southern spots in Saskatchewan that you can fish for grayling. They sure put up a fight for the size of them, though. Now, a lot of guys will use light spinning tackle, and there's some ways to use some flies on spinning tackle that we're going to go through a little bit later. But since I'm kind of new at the fly fishing, I just had to try this. I could see it could become quite addictive. This is a pretty good fish, too.
Well, I don't think there's anything more exciting than watching a fish rise to a dry fly, is there?
Well, when you can see him take it, and this water is so clear.
And you can see him coming up from, 2 or 3 feet down to take that fly.
Boy, it's a pretty fish.
Now with grayling, I mean, since they are so, there isn't that many of them around. It's, it is a good idea to release them. There's a lot of other fish around here we can eat.
I broke that one off right here trying to release it.
Oh, did you? So it
is a good idea to let them go because they are kind of a rare fish, and I don't think they're the best eating fish in the world either. I tried them once before and wasn't real impressed with eating them, but they're more fun to catch and pretty to look at. It's worth putting them back.
Oh, they're just way too pretty to look at.
Well, you said that was that last fly you had like that. You sure you don't have another one?
Not for you.
Well, it's double header, TJ.
You bet.
Had a few hits the same time, but haven't managed to hook up too many times like this. Ooh. This one wants to go.
You get that one in behind that big rock there?
Just at the end of that riffle where the water slows down a little bit, he was just laying in there. I'd seen him come up once before, and came up and then turned away right just before he hit the fly.
I'm going to get mine back in there.
This one's giving a pretty good fight here. Yeah, just on the edge of the slack water there seems to be where they're holding, or else in behind some of those big rocks.
They sure have a lot of power, don't they?
For a small fish.
They put up a great fight.
You think about it, they live... Oh! Oh, I gotta let him go. You think about it, they live their whole life in this fast, or most of their life in this fast current. They have to be pretty strong swimmers. I've got quite a light tippet on here too. Geez, he wants to go. So I don't want to horse him too much or I'm going to lose him.
He's really putting up a scrap.
Oh, there he is. That's a nice sized fish too. I'm going to try and lead him into this shallow water over here so I can unhook him. I don't think he's ready to come in yet. Boy, they're colorful fish, aren't they? In this clear water, they just are so bright. There he comes. I think. It's not done yet.
There's a lot more insect activity starting to happen on top of the water right now, and I think there's a lot of fish jumping, so they're just really starting to feed, and I think that's why the action's really picked up.
Well, that is one beautiful fish. Now I'll get him back in and put up a good fight.
We just saw a few big mayflies drifting down the stream here and watched the trout or the grayling actually come up and pick them up. So I put on about a number 10 or number 12 mayfly imitation and missed one on the first cast and picked one up on the second. So I know fly fishing is probably not that popular in Western Canada other than the very western part of Alberta. It's so much fun, and grayling got to be one of the best fish to learn on. They're so willing to take a dry fly.
Oh, that's a nice one.
Yeah.
I just had another hit here too.
So it seems like there's a few insects starting to hatch, and so it's just like trout fishing or anything like that. We're just going to match the hatch, and that's what I did by putting this, much larger dry fly on than we were using. So when we got here, there was nothing rising at all. So we just started with what traditionally works on grayling. I mean, you can see how much larger that fly is than what we have been using. Let's get that out of him and get him back too. He really wants to go.
On this week's show, Bob and TJ traveled to northern Saskatchewan to fish for Canada's most exotic freshwater fish, the Arctic grayling. Grayling have come by the nickname sailfish of the north honestly. The distinctive dorsal fin and iridescent scales make these fish truly unique. What they lack in size, they more than make up for in beauty. Grayling are a symbol of Canada's north. Arctic grayling thrive in the fast-flowing rivers of the Arctic Shield. Fairly rare in more accessible areas, grayling find sanctuary in remote fly-in waters. The Gone Fishin' team is headed north of Buffalo Narrows by float plane to fish the Clearwater River. The Clearwater flows out of Crean Lake and contains one of the southernmost populations of grayling in Saskatchewan. Bob and TJ are guests of Jack and Eileen O'Brien at O'Brien's Crean Lake Lodge. This family-operated business caters to all types of anglers, from the casual to hardcore. Warm, comfortable cabins, safe, well-maintained boats, and delicious shore lunches are all part of the Crean experience. Guests are required to bring their own food and prepare the day's meals, keeping costs low and affordable for the entire family. The Clearwater River is a short 15-minute boat ride from the main lodge, where a 10-minute hike puts you in the middle of the finest grayling fishing the river has to offer. Be sure to bring your fly rod, spinning gear, camera, and loads of film. Some of the most spectacular scenery in the area is offered here. Stay tuned for more hot grayling action. Do you have any questions or comments on Gone Fishin'? If you do, we'd love to hear from you. Send your comments to Gone Fishin', care of Box 421, Cabri, Saskatchewan, SONOJO, or fax Gone Fishin' at 306-587-2603.
All right, well, I just got one here, TJ. I cast right to the other side, right up along the shore. Now, I'm using a little different method than ooh, that's a nice fish. A little different method than what we've been using up till now. And what I did is I'm using the same flies that I was using when I was fly fishing. Tied a fly on the end and then put a clear plastic bobber or float about 3 feet up from the fly just to give me some weight to cast it across to the other side. Now the float helps the fly to drift naturally without a lot of drag, and it's a very effective method. I'm using quite a short rod here, and the problem is once a grayling strikes the fly is to pick up all that slack line in a hurry. I'd probably be better off using an 8 or 9 foot rod like a fly rod. This is another beautiful fish. Now he took it a little deeper. Oh no, he didn't. He lunged at it and missed. It got wrapped around him. He's caught underneath on the chin. That is another beautiful grayling. What do you think of that one, TJ?
Ooh, nice. Good fish.
It's a real good one. Well, I think we'll get him back in right away. These fish are so powerful for the size of them. There, he's gone. Well, that's 2 for 2. I'm going back there again.
Okay, we're fishing tiny dry flies for these grayling today, number 14 to number 18. Seems the darker colors work the best, dark browns, blacks, and that's pretty traditional with grayling. Now we've got a red tail on the flies we're using, and it seems to be really adding to their effectiveness. There's a little bit of a hatch going on, but grayling will feed on the surface pretty well any time. So what we're doing is we're just casting it upstream and let it drift downstream naturally. Now if that fly gets any drag on the water or isn't floating naturally at all, they just won't touch it. Everyone thinks of grayling as, fairly stupid. They are aggressive feeders, but if things aren't totally natural, they will not take a bait. Now there are several other ways to catch grayling as well, and we'll deal with some of those later. Let's grab this one here. Well, these are nice grayling. This is a good average size grayling. Anytime you can catch grayling, a pound, 2 pounds, it's a lot of fun. Anytime you can catch fish on a dry fly, it's a lot of fun. Okay, we're using very light tippets on our leaders as well. 2 to 4 pound test. And the reason for that is with these tiny flies, it just makes them present that much more naturally. So I'm going to get him back in the water too. There he goes. This is incredible. I love it.
It's time now for Pokey's Pro Tips.
I caught quite a few grayling today using fly rod, and it was a lot of fun. Now, neither Bob and I are super proficient at fly rodding, but we had a lot of fun doing it, and we did catch quite a few fish. It was a real learning experience for us. We're using dry flies, so we're using a dry fly line. I had a number 6 line on with a fairly light rod. Very small leaders, 2 pound test, 3 pound test. We started out with smaller flies, number 16s, number 18s, and then we started to see some larger flies floating down the river. There's some quite large mayflies, and then we noticed some caddis flies on the rocks. So we started switching to some larger flies, and we started catching bigger fish, plus caught more. And part of the reason was the larger fish weren't really coming up and hitting that fly hard. They were just coming up underneath it and slurping it in. So it was really important that you could maintain visual contact with your fly. So when we went to the larger flies, it was a lot easier to do that. Now I talked before about the white flies too. And you can see this one with the white wings is quite easy to see. So in some of the more ripply water, we went to these larger profile flies with the white wings so we could maintain contact with them and watch those grayling come up and hit them. And so if you haven't tried fly fishing or you're just new at it, grayling got to be one of the best species to start on. They're a ton of fun, they're really active, and you just couldn't find a prettier fish.
Now, you don't have to be a fly fisherman to use dry flies for these grayling. I had a little trouble myself today. So what I switched to was an ultralight setup, and you can present a dry fly very good with an ultralight line. Now I've got 4 pound test on here, and I tied a dry fly to the end, same type of flies that we were using with the fly rod. And about 4 feet up the line, I added a clear bobber. Now this gives me the weight to cast this light fly across out into the creek or out in the river, and it'll get a very natural drift when it moves downstream. Now this fly, as TJ mentioned, has got white wings on it. It was a little easier to see. Probably the one most commonly used for grayling, especially on this river, is a black gnat, and just the added red tail makes quite a difference. So this is the most common fly. And one thing we did use to keep our flies floating on the surface was a fly dressing, and you can apply this to your flies and it helps them float. And every 3 or 4 fish you catch, you'd apply a little bit more. Just keeps them up on the surface, they're easier to see, and after they get wet and the dressing wears off, they will start to sink under the water. So we did have more luck with them on the surface. But you're not limited to using dry flies if you're not a fly fisherman. Like I said, the ultralight setup works terrific, and we caught a lot of fish on both.
Okay, we're just, whoa! We're just kind of casting so the fly drifts in behind the rocks. And the current's fairly fast here, and the grayling are just laying behind the rocks. And we can see right to the bottom. So it's just every time that fly drifts over the tail end of the rock is when those grayling come up and strike. And you can see them coming up at it. It's great. This is so much fun. Alrighty. Just a little one, this one. Alrighty. I'm just gonna try and pop the fly right out of his mouth there, and he's gone. Perfect. If you don't have to handle them, it's all the better. These barbless flies just pop out like nothing. You can just reach down, pop it out, and let them go. I just had a strike there. I just put my line out to get it out of the way, and I had another one hit. I get him right away.
And another one here. This bobber. Whoa! This bobber method's working quite good. Boy, these are such pretty fish. Can't believe how powerful they are for the size they are. I think I can get this one unhooked. There he goes. They just sit there after they're unhooked.
What do you say we head a little further down the river and give it a try?
Okay. One last cast.
Well, Bob, I thought we'd almost fish this hole out. But
Well, sometimes just a change of fly makes all the difference in the world.
I'll tell you, that's 3 casts and 3 fish. That's so true with any species, though, isn't it?
Yeah, sometimes all you have to do is change your approach or change your bait, and it seems to make all the difference in the world.
I just can't believe how colorful these fish are. And there he goes. Well, I thought I had this one licked here, Bob, but he just... Try this once more here. And he's tired now. Oh, yeah. Oh, there's a big grayling. Look at the size of that.
Oh, it's beautiful, that one.
They are the slipperiest fish on the face of the earth.
They're hard to hold on to.
Look at the dorsal fin on him. Holy.
Not quite as colorful as some of the smaller ones that we've caught, but he
No.
sure is.
That fly fell out of his mouth and I picked him up. You're just lightly hooked. Beautiful fish.
Do you have any questions or comments on Gone Fishin'? If you do, we'd love to hear from you. Send your comments to Gone Fishin', care of Box 421, Cabri, Saskatchewan, SONOJO, or fax Gone Fishin' at 306-587-2603.
Well, TJ, we've had a great time fishing grayling out here. This is just beautiful. I'd like to thank Jack and Eileen O'Brien from Crean Lake Lodge. They've been just terrific. We've had a great time. This grayling fishing couldn't be any better. And I'm sure we're going to come back again.
Make sure you join us next time on Gone Fishing'.
Well, I'm going to go see if I can crawl up that tree and get some of my flies back.
We should ask Jack if he's got a chainsaw.